Why some chosen ones are hidden longer than everyone else. Huge gift awaits. There's a mystery that haunts many of us on the spiritual path, a question that burns quietly in the background of our lives. Why am I still hidden? Why, despite the depth of our awakenings, our visions, our inner fire, have we not been called to step forward like others? Why do we watch people rise into their purpose while we sit in the shadows, waiting, wondering, aching to be seen, but never fully called forward? If you've ever felt like something inside you is meant for more, but the world hasn't noticed yet, if you've ever felt like you're carrying a message, a light, a gift so vast it scares even you, but somehow life keeps holding you back, this is not by accident. This is sacred. This is part of the design. You're not being ignored. You're being prepared. I want you to understand something that very few people will tell you. The most powerful spiritual beings, the ones with the biggest missions, are hidden the longest. Not because they are not ready, but because the world is not ready for them. And more importantly, they are still being sculpted in a way that defies logic. Being a chosen one isn't a popularity game. It's not about visibility. It's about alignment, and true alignment takes time. It takes pressure. It takes absolute refinement of the soul, the kind of refinement that can only happen in the unseen, in the quiet, in the dark.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You see, the universe hides its most powerful warriors in plain sight. It doesn't send them out before their time. It doesn't rush their emergence, and it certainly doesn't expose them to the world's projections before their inner foundation is unshakable. If you've been hidden longer than others, it's not because you're behind, it's because you're ahead. You're being fortified. You're being anchored so deeply into your truth that when the storm comes, and it will come, you won't be moved. You'll be the still point in the chaos, the silence beneath the noise, the lighthouse in the fog. But here's the hard part. Being hidden feels like abandonment. It feels like injustice. It feels like being overlooked, even by the divine. You start to question your worth. You compare your timeline to others. You wonder if you've missed your moment. But I need you to hear this. Your moment hasn't come yet because it's still being built. And what's coming for you is not small. It's not something that can be microwaved. It's ancient, monumental, it's legacy. And legacy Do you realize that some of the most powerful beings to ever walk this earth spent years, sometimes decades, completely unknown? Jesus spent 30 years in silence before 3 years of ministry. Buddha wandered and meditated in obscurity before his awakening. Even in modern times, the people who carry the deepest wisdom often have histories you'll never hear about. Their power was forged in hiddenness. Their strength was born in silence. Their clarity came from decades of invisible struggle. So if you're still hidden, maybe you're in the same lineage. Maybe you're walking the same path. But let me ask you something deeper. What if being hidden is not just a delay, but a protection? What if the world you think you're ready for would have swallowed you whole if you had stepped in too soon? What if your ego, still fragile from old wounds, would have latched on to recognition and lost the essence of your gift? What if your trauma, still healing, would have bled into your message and distorted the energy you were meant to carry? The universe isn't cruel, it's wise. It delays not to punish, but to preserve what's sacred. And maybe you've noticed this. Every time you try to push forward before it's time, something blocks you. A door closes, a connection falls through, an opportunity vanishes. And it's maddening, isn't it? But what if that's not failure? What if that's divine timing, slamming the brakes before you drive off the cliff? You're not being rejected, you're being redirected, back inward, back into the fire, back into the forge where your soul is being tempered into steel. There's a reason your path feels longer, heavier, more winding. You're not here to play a small game. You're not here to offer surface-level healing. You're here to bring through frequencies that this world has forgotten. You're here to speak truths that will shake people awake. And that kind of calling requires gravity. It requires depth. It requires pain. And most of all, it requires purity. Not in the moral sense, but in the energetic. Your channel must be clear. Your ego must be humbled. Your heart must be healed, not perfect, but true. So, if you're still hidden, I want you to start asking a different question. Not, why am I still waiting? But, what am I still carrying that needs to be healed before I can rise? Because the delay is never arbitrary. It's always precise. Your hiddenness is the stage of gestation. It's the cocoon. It's the sacred pause before the quantum leap. And in that pause, your soul is being recalibrated. Your nervous system is being rewired. Your vision is being sharpened. You're not stuck. You're becoming. This isn't the time to shrink. It's the time to dig. To excavate the last layers of doubt, shame, fear, and separation. To sit with the parts of you still afraid to be seen. To love the parts of you that still don't believe they are worthy of the mission. Because when you rise, and you will rise, you won't just be visible, you'll be vibrationally undeniable. You won't just be heard, you'll resonate. You won't just speak, you'll awaken. And the world is not yet ready for that version of you, but it's getting ready, and so are you. So here's the question I leave you with. What sacred power is still being formed in the silence of your waiting? Sit with that. Breathe with it. Let it unravel you. Because the longer the wait, the greater the weight of what you're being called to carry. And that is no accident. The hidden training grounds of the soul. Most people think that preparation happens on the outside. They believe that when the time is right, the doors will open, the stage will be set, and the world will begin to applaud. But for the chosen ones, those who are here to shift timelines, to awaken collective memory, to carry codes of healing and truth that stretch beyond cultures and centuries, preparation happens in secret. It happens in what I call the hidden training grounds of the soul. And if you're still hidden, still waiting, still wondering when your time will come, you're probably in the middle of it right now. This training doesn't look like formal education. It doesn't come with mentors, degrees, or applause. It comes in the form of emotional storms, spiritual isolation, and the aching feeling that no one truly sees you. It comes when the people you love don't understand you, when your dreams seem to collapse again and again, when your prayers echo into silence. This is not a punishment, it's a sacred, intentional stripping away. Because before you can carry the divine, you must be emptied of the illusions. Before you can hold the light, you must face everything in you that resists it. Think about this. Why would the universe hide its most potent warriors in pain, in confusion, in years of obscurity? Because when you are hidden, you are safe to break. You are safe to shed your identities. You are safe to fail without the world watching. You are safe to wrestle with your ego, to confront your shadow, to meet your inner child and hold them through their grief. You are safe to become, and only when that becoming is complete, or at least stable enough, will the universe begin to reveal you. These hidden training grounds don't operate by time, they operate by depth. You can be there for 3 years or 30. The duration isn't determined by how good you are or how spiritual you appear to be. It's determined by how willing you are to surrender. The more you resist, the longer you stay. The more you try to rush, to force, to compare, the more you delay your own emergence. Because the soul doesn't respond to ego timeline, it responds to readiness. Have you noticed how the most powerful people often have the most humbling backstories? It's because power without depth is dangerous. Influence without integrity is toxic, and light without shadow integration is blinding. So the universe takes its time with the chosen ones. It gives them heartbreak, not to break them, but to soften them. It gives them loss, not to punish them, but to teach detachment. It gives them silence, not to abandon them, but to amplify their inner voice. And during this hidden training, you'll be asked to master things most people never even think about. You'll be asked to sit still when everything in you wants to react. You'll be asked to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. You'll be asked to walk away from comfort, from safety, from the familiar illusions of who you used to be. You'll be asked to trust the unseen with everything you have, even when there's no evidence that your path is working. The truth is, the universe hides the chosen ones longer because it's building something unshakable within them. You're not just being prepared to shine, you're being prepared to carry others through their darkness, and you can't do that unless you've met your own. You can't guide someone through an inner war unless you've survived your own battlefield. That's why your journey has been so intense, so lonely, so heavy, because you're not just awakening for you, you're awakening for generations, and maybe you've started to feel it. The subtle shift, the quiet strength growing in you, the clarity that comes and goes like waves, the deep, ancient part of you that whispers, "It's almost time." That's not your imagination, that's your soul recognizing the nearing of your emergence. But even now, there are lessons to finish, gifts to refine, wounds to bless, truths to embody, because when you step out of hiding, you won't just be seen, you'll be a mirror, and what you reflect will either heal or harm. That's why this time is so sacred, so essential. So let me ask you something only your soul can answer. What have you been learning in the dark that the light will one day need? Really sit with that question, because everything you're harvesting now, every insight, every scar, every breakthrough in silence, is part of the gift you'll one day give to the world. These hidden training grounds are not a delay, they are a sacred acceleration. A divine setup for a mission so massive your current self can barely fathom it. Your time will come. But for now, dig deeper, listen closer, and honor the silence, because it's not empty, it's full of you becoming who you were always meant to be. The collapse before the calling. There's a sacred moment on the journey of every chosen one that no one talks about until you've lived through it. It's not the moment you awaken or the moment you rise. It's the collapse that happens just before the calling. It's a quiet, brutal unraveling, a complete dismantling of everything you thought you were. And it doesn't always come with warning. It sneaks in through the cracks. At first, it looks like exhaustion, then confusion, then nothing makes sense. The things that once gave you purpose start to feel hollow. The people you once leaned on don't feel safe. The identity you've spent so long building begins to crumble in your hands. And a terrifying part? You don't know who you are without it. This collapse isn't failure, it's initiation. It's the last purge before the emergence. It's where the soul says, I can't carry this anymore, and the universe responds, then let it die. And so you do. Sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. You let the dreams go, you let the expectations shatter. You sit in a kind of spiritual numbness where nothing feels real, and yet everything feels raw. It's the void, the sacred void. And if you've been here, you know how heavy it is, like gravity is pressing down on your spirit, like the air is thick with endings you didn't choose but somehow needed. But here's the truth no one tells you. The collapse is not the end of your story. It's the doorway to your real beginning. Because only in the ashes of the old can the new voice rise. The voice that isn't built from ego or programming or fear. The voice of your true self. The one that has been buried underneath conditioning, expectations, and survival mechanisms. The collapse is what clears the way for that voice to emerge. It's not there to destroy you, it's there to reveal you. You see, for those who are truly chosen, not by society but by the divine, there must be a complete death of the false self. The version of you that was built to be accepted, loved, admired, or validated must be surrendered. That's why the collapse hurts so deeply. Because it's not just the loss of outer things, it's the loss of who you thought you were. And in that loss, a vast silence opens up inside you, a silence where, for the first time, you can hear something ancient, something eternal, something true. And this is where the calling begins, not with a trumpet, not with applause, but with a whisper, a subtle pull, a strange, sacred knowing. You won't always be able to explain it to others, but something in you will say, go this way. You'll begin to see signs, you'll start having dreams. You'll feel drawn to places, to people, to paths that your logical mind can't justify. That's because the calling doesn't speak the language of the mind, it speaks the language of the soul. But the collapse must come first, because until everything false falls away, you won't recognize the truth when it calls. You'll resist it, you'll doubt it, you'll try to fit it into the old frame. But the truth doesn't fit into the old. It demands a new container, a new you, a version of you that is stripped bare but radiant, empty but full of presence, quiet but charged with divine purpose. And that's why some chosen ones are hidden longer, because their collapse is deeper, their death is bigger, their rebirth is more precise. They're not just being prepared to lead, they're being prepared to embody, not to speak about truth, but to be it. And that kind of embodiment can only come through fire. Not once, but many times, until the soul is strong enough to carry the weight of its own light. So if you're in the collapse, don't run, don't numb, don't rush to rebuild. Sit in the ashes, feel the grief, let the pain wash through you, because this is not the end. This is the sacred pause before the sacred rise. And when you do rise, you won't be the same. You won't be seeking your calling, you will be your calling. Every breath, every step, every word will carry the frequency of someone who has died and come back different. Someone who no longer needs to be seen because they see themselves. Someone who no longer needs permission because they remember who they are. So I ask you, with all the love and gravity this moment deserves, what are you still clinging to that must collapse before your calling can fully rise? Answer that, and you'll begin to understand why you've been hidden this long. Because the collapse isn't holding you back, it's setting you free. The great reveal. When the hidden ones finally rise, there comes a moment in the life of every chosen one when the waiting ends, not because time has passed, but because something inside has clicked. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet certainty of a soul that has completed its preparation. The inner war settles, the questions soften, the ache of invisibility gives way to a calm knowing. It's time. This is the moment the great reveal begins, not as a performance, not as a spectacle, but as an emergence. You don't step into the spotlight, you become the light. And when you rise, it won't be like the world expects. You won't need to announce yourself. The frequency you now carry will speak louder than any words. People will feel it before you even open your mouth. They'll sense the depth, the gravity, the strange familiarity of someone who has died and returned with treasure. That's what this journey has been about all along, not just gaining knowledge or skills, but becoming the gift itself. You spent years in the dark, not to be punished, but to become undeniable. You'll notice something strange when this moment comes. The very things that once resisted you will start to open. The doors that were locked will swing without effort. The people who once dismissed your energy will now lean in. Not because you tried harder, but because you aligned. You became the embodiment of your soul's blueprint, and when that happens, the universe responds instantly, not out of charity, but because it recognizes its own frequency returning home. But here's the deeper truth. When the hidden ones rise, they don't rise alone. They carry others with them. Every scar you healed becomes a path for someone else. Every truth you reclaimed becomes a mirror. Every time you chose to stay in the fire, to feel instead of flee, you were forging tools for others to use. This is the real mission, not to be seen, but to see others through. And your emergence signals a wave, because when one chosen one fully awakens, it activates others. We rise together. This is who you are now. Not a seeker, but a rememberer. Not a follower, but a frequency holder. You don't need to fit in because you belong to something greater. You don't need to prove your worth because your presence is proof. And the life that begins from this place is not driven by fear or urgency or validation. It's driven by devotion to truth, to love, to the divine intelligence that hid you just long enough to make you ready. So, if you feel that quiet pull right now, if your soul is whispering, go, speak, create, lead, love, this is not a test. This is the invitation. You're not waiting anymore. You're welcomed, not into a role, but into your reality, the one you've been preparing for your entire life. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to begin. Because all the wisdom you need is already in your bones. All the strength is already in your scars. All the guidance is already in your breath. And maybe that's the greatest gift of being hidden so long. You no longer rise for the world. You rise for the truth. You rise for the ones still in the darkness. You rise because your light is no longer something you carry, it's who you are. So I leave you with this. Now that the world is finally ready to see you, are you ready to be seen? Because the moment you say yes, the reveal becomes real and the world begins to change, one awakened soul at a time. You were hidden for a reason, you are revealed for a purpose. Now rise, we've been waiting for you.